So everyone, it is Erin, and I am in the mood for making another mini book. So what I've done is I've kind of started collecting a lot of my Halloween-y stuff that I have, starting with some papers that I had already cut up and made a card from last year. These are all canvas core stuff. They're just bits and pieces. And with mini books, it's really actually quite easy to pull some of these small scraps and use them. So that's the beginning of my little mini book. I also have grabbed a whole bunch, and I did order these specifically for a book, a whole bunch of fun cards, and these are all in the Seven Gypsies collection. They're really cool. There's a couple of them that are repeated, so I don't think I'm going to use them all, but it's all just like Wicked Gypsy, which is really fun. And so there are all these little fun cards and tags and ephemera and things like that that are going to go in as well in various spots and places. And so just little fun things. I am not using all of this. I just like to have stuff out, so if I look at it, I can find it. I did pull out some other oddball things to use as the base of my book. So this is the beginning of my book right here. This is from Seven Gypsies, and I did stick a couple things. It's a chipboard, but it's pretty thick, and I'm going to drill a couple holes in here, and this is going to be the outside binding of my book. So I'm just going to punch into here. I think my big bite will work for that, and then start layering in some of my pages to go inside the book, like some of these. Use an envelope, why not? A little black, envelope. Some flute paper, which are also known as cardboard paper. I also grabbed a canvas, and I love this because I can rip it up and cut it up. I'm really thinking I'm going to cut this section out, and you can just cut out, parts. I'm thinking the pumpkins might be really cool on the front cover, and then just, taking bits and pieces and just kind of cutting some of this canvas up. And then for my colors, for the scheme of this, I have this paint system. So this paint system has 4 in here, and the specific called Haunted House, so I thought it was perfect for this. I may pull some extra paints. So we have Pitch Black Glimmer Glam, Suede Glimmer Mist, Sweet Pea Glimmer Grays, and Simply Sheer Fresh Orange. And so it's a little bit of everything. So if I want to paint something, I can paint it. If I want to mist it, I can mist it. It's all in here. So we have a brown, we have a black, and some of these are sprays and some of these are paints. And I'm probably going to grab a few more sprays, maybe some more oranges, maybe a yellow. I'm just kind of having some fun. But this was kind of the beginning of my tones. And you can blend them too. There's nothing wrong with blending any of them. Oh, I also, for some strange reason, I have no idea why, I have a ton of Halloween charms. No idea why I have so many of them. I have a ton of these little guys right here. So I thought I would have fun and kind of play up and add them and do something with these guys. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're kind of playing with. Starting with getting our book organized. So I'm going to kind of put some of the stuff on the ground and figure it all out. And let's get started. Okay, so here's the beginning of our book. These are really thick chipboard pieces here, so what I did is I went ahead and measured, and then I punched in, and this was an extra piece left over from another heavy chipboard book from Canvas Core that I used for a project long ago, and I'm just using it as another stable object inside so all my pages don't completely fall down. And so now I've got a front cover, a back cover, one inside cover, and now we're going to add some other layers in here as well. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to add in an envelope in here, and I think I'm going to cut this part off. This just adds another easy way, and here's the beauty of this. When you're ready to start punching holes in this, all you have to do is just take your board, line up wherever you want. You're going to have to flip this over a couple of times. Make sure it's lined up. You want to leave a little bit of extra room so it can kind of flip over. And then you take your object and you just draw some holes, and then you punch it too, and then it has it. I wanted to do it on this side because this has got a little more stability, and then now I have a pouch where I can add things into this. I'm going to do the same thing here, and keep in mind your book is going to be this big. So if this is going to be here, I can also add an envelope going this way. And sometimes you can off-center them a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and keep this one centered. Might drop it down. If you off-center your envelopes just a tiny bit, or whatever your layers are inside your book, it just adds a little more interest as you're flipping, so it's not so continuous. So I do need to be careful about where the holes are. But I'm going to drop it down to the corner because this guy is right here, and then it just adds another layer of something on the bottom. You're not looking at the same old stuff. Because this is the front, I do want my pocket to be in the front. So I'm going to hold this. So I'm going to continue doing these for all my layers, measuring out how I want my book to go. I'm not going to see the black very much. It's enough to see a dot though. And the beauty of the black is I don't have to worry about coloring it. I just need to add something to it and I'm good to go. All right, so I think I'm going to stick with, here's going to be another one, and then here you get 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections. And I know this doesn't look very Halloween-y, but as soon as we start adding stuff to it, it will. And we are actually going to spray some of this separately before we assemble it together, but I want to have punches in it before I actually start spraying all of this. I don't think I'm going to use any of the recipe cards. It just doesn't quite fit. Also, I wrote double, double, Doyle and trouble on there. Bubble, double, double, boil and bubble, toil and trouble. I can never remember Macbeth very well. And then I think one last page is going to be this, just to give it some more stability. So I need to cut this down to size. So I'm going to use my pen and then just use my scissors to cut it. I'm just going to kind of freehand it a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and mark these guys up. And then the last one here, this is just a large envelope, just kind of fun, and it fits really nicely. And then it's got a fun tab. I can't put this all the way in, but it does have a fun little tab I can put out here. All right, when it comes to doing layering on big surfaces like this, I really do like just to use sprays versus getting out paint. It's just much easier. I am going to get a paper towel and put everything, and I'm just going to start spraying up the pages that I want to have color on. So now I've sprayed all these front and back, and I'm going to let them completely dry. So this is going to take maybe an hour or so for them to completely saturate and dry before we assemble the book into its pages. So we've done a lot of varying colors. So we've done lots of just in the color scheme of Halloween. So yellows, oranges, blacks, and green. The only color I'm not pulling into this, which is kind of a Halloween color, is purple, because it's really not on any of the papers or colors that I'm using. So I'm really not staying with that. So I've pulled everything from glimmer mists to simply sheer, to baseboards, to chalk shimmers from Brutus Monroe, anything that was a spray. This is so it's a baseboard. Yeah, lots of baseboards and chalk shimmers and simply sheers and glimmer mists, and everything from black to orange to yellow to green, and various shades of all of those. So drying time. Okay, so it looks like all my pages are not 100%, but they've been going for probably about an hour, to the point where it's sparing some, but it's not bad. I'm gonna definitely start working with it now. This is not the final draft of what they're gonna look like. There's gonna be lots of layers added onto this, and some glitz and some glam and some fun sparkles. This is just the beginning of it all. Okay, so I am starting with the back side of my book. I do know that this is gonna go in the middle, and this is gonna be the front. And I pulled out some orange, you know, because why not? We're dealing with Halloween, and we've got all kinds of fun colors, and I have a ton of orange, and I really don't ever get to use it very much. All right, so first page goes in here, and let's start out with our envelope. That's going to open up, and we're going to open up into our folder. No, it's too green on green. Let's go with this one. Okay, and then we'll add a black in here. Then we can change this into the orange card and then into the folder. And there is the basis of our book. Very short and sweet. All right, so from here, we're going to add in some of our rope. The trick with the rope is we're actually going to glue the end of the rope so it goes through all of our layers. So I'm just using some mixed media glue from Beacon to give it a nice, good, solid end, and it's got to take a second to dry. So I'm going to end up doing 2 of these. You do not need a huge amount of rope per binding, I guess is the best way to say it. So I'm just going to take a couple, and what I'm trying to avoid is it from getting all warped, hence why I'm adding a little glue on the end to both of them, if it'll come out. Just to give it kind of a seal, so it'll slide through much easier as I'm pulling through. Okay, so from this point, it's dry enough where we can go through it. The reason why I like using the glue versus tape is because it helps stay steady faster, and then you just start kind of stringing it through. You just take your pages one at a time and you string it through. All right, so here we have our binding now. It is on. When you're doing a binding like this, you don't want to hold it super tight because then it flares your book out like this, and that's not what you want. You want to have some looseness, especially because we're going to end up adding some stuff inside. You do want to be careful though, because if we make this too loose, this is what happens. So you're going to want to hold this somewhat tight. And there's one of 2 ways. You can either tie it in like this and do a fun knot, or you can kind of knot it on either end and it becomes a loose binding. I think I'm going to tie them both like this, keeping a little bit of flexibility in our book here. So enough where we can still, I'm going to kind of hold these in place and see what we think. Enough where you can flip your pages, you still have some room to groove, but it's not too terribly loose either. You got to kind of play with that fine line, and I think we've got it. So I'm going to go ahead and knot this out. This is where you can start having fun with your binding. So I'm going to start weaving these together, trying to keep them in this certain space, layering one on top of the other. Loop under. And because one's a little bit longer than the other, it's going to end up being a little bit different. Loop it back over, and we are going to glue this. I'm just wrapping it, just doing a pure wrap. This one's going to go up. And we're going to do the same thing with these guys. So it just creates kind of like a handle on the side of our book here. So now you just take some of your glue and go in, add some of your last layers with the glue, and there it is. I really didn't have to glue a whole bunch, and you could even do this for something that you're going to do. We're going to have a horizontal book. We're going to have the book go this way. You know what? I may change my mind on that. We may have the book go this way because I kind of like that handle. We may have the book go up and down and be open like this. That would be fun. It really doesn't matter which way you do your book. So I kind of like that. It's like it's a little briefcase now. So things can change. All plans change. The book is really, this is not necessarily meant to have an up-down look. And the interior is not specific for being one direction or the other. So I like that. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So there we go. So we're going to call this end of part 1, where it was the assemblage of the book and the creation of how to put this whole thing together and the beginning of the coloring of the misting of it. Come back for part 2, where we add in all of our fun embellishments. I've got a few things right here. So here's some fun little charms. I've got some fun ephemera going on here. We're going to add some more colors and textures. We're going to add all kinds of fun stuff. And I even found, because I've had this forever, some really fun bling that we're going to add to this. So come back for part 2 and let's play some more. Bye-bye.